The Republican Party is like a rotating cast of characters. It's really like a game of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. No pun intended, or maybe there's pun intended. So, you know, there's 17 guys, or maybe better yet, musical chairs. 17 folks sort of rotating around to figure out who's going to be up and who's going to be down. Well, the flavor of the month, the special flavor of the month this year, America, is Ben Carson Rocky Road ice cream. No, I'm just joking about the Rocky Road ice cream, but you get what I'm saying here, folks. So while Donald Trump is still atop all the Republican polls, and Donald Trump is atop astoundingly, and we're going to talk about that later on in the show, but he's atop, like, people have made this argument that Donald Trump is going to bottom out, and I want to tell all these people that they're wrong. I mean, he just keeps gaining. He's adding to the pie. I mean, don't get me wrong, he doesn't have the Barack Obama operation that we saw in 2008, but I mean, he's doing a really good job of adding to the pie and making the pie bigger, and we're going to talk about him in a second. But Ben Carson. Since the party's first debate on August 6th, the retired pediatric neurosurgeon has surged past Jeb Bush in national polls. He has now passed both Bush and one-time poll leader Scott Walker in Iowa, and in both polls, he's only trailing Trump by small numbers. Very, very small numbers. Beyond Carson's favorability rating among Republicans, they're sky high. Right? One poll showed that people just love Ben Carson. In Iowa, they love him, like Donald Trump would say. He's incredible in Iowa. But there's a couple reasons why. Number one, I will tell you, is that I think the Republicans know that, here's the thing, and I've said this over and over again, right? From the outside looking in. This Black Lives Matter, beyond the interrupting, beyond sort of the interrupting of events and beyond the constant push for more police accountability, Black Lives Matter is a thing, right? When I say it's a thing, it's a thing that has taken our taking our country's politics by storm. Every candidate now have to answer these questions. Do you think Black Lives Matter? And for Ben Carson, even though on the issues of Black Lives Matter, he's on the right and he's on the wrong on the issue, is what I mean. He's on the right side of it, on the wrong of the issue, if that makes any sense to you. Ben Carson is a black guy. So I think for the Republicans, like, well, if we, you know, because Republicans are very simple-minded, very simple-minded. You know, they thought in 2008, oh, there's a black guy running. We got to compete with the black. Let's find a woman. And they picked Sarah Palin, and they lost dismally. Then they said, oh, there's a young guy running. Barack Obama's young. Let's run a younger guy. Paul Ryan. Dismal. Failure. A mess. Moving forward. So that's number one. Number two, Ben Carson's actually a really positive guy, right? Whether you like his politics or not, he's actually really positive. He's really likable. He's mild-mannered, right? He has great evangelical credibility. Even though his evangelical credibility is so great that it supersedes his ability to be a scientist. Now, he is a scientist, but he says some things that are just completely without scientific reason, which should cause one to raise an eyebrow. But for Republicans, he's soundly conservative. Right, and you can go on Netflix and watch his made-for-TV movie about his life and about how great he is. But beyond that, he's really been able, and we saw this poignantly. We saw this poignantly in the debate when he had his one shining moment where he had this exchange with Megyn Kelly that says that these people are prayers of hatred. So on and so forth. We have to see what's going to happen here, but right now, America, right now, Ben Carson is sort of the flavor of the month. Now, how long will he last? We'll have to know. He recently wrote an op-ed about the USA Today, sort of addressing this and I want to go back to this Black Lives Matter thing, because I think it is a thing. It's something that all the candidates have to deal with. He wrote a piece in USA Today that focused on less on police brutality and more on improving values, preventing drugs, and reducing dependency on government. He also mocked the offense and sort of taking on the use of this all lives matter. And he says that political correctness is a mess. And he said, this is a quote from his, I don't agree with this, but this is a quote from his op-ed. Of course all lives matter. And of course we should be very concerned about what is going on, particularly in our inner cities. So he's really, whether you like it or not, he's found a way to truly answer the Black Lives Matter question for conservatives to like him. And that's why his trustworthy numbers are high. That's why, his likability numbers are high. He's also, folks who don't know this, he ran he did the campaign the right way. When he first decided he was going to run, he read a lot of commercials. He did a big ad buy in Iowa, intro ad. I'm Ben Carson. This is who I am. Now, listen, just because it smells like roses doesn't mean your boo-boo doesn't stink. Here are some of his weaknesses. Number one, his weaknesses is that, he's never run for office before. He's not trial tested at being able to govern. His campaign experiencing a lot of turmoil, staff turnover, this, that, and the third, which could bode really bad for him in Iowa. Iowa is an organizing game. We'll have to see, but right now, Ben Carson's the flavor of the month.